It was a cold winter's evening, and the only thing Ava Munro had to look forward to was meeting up with her friends for a sleepover. Her best friend, Liv Mackenzie, only lived around the corner, so Ava waved goodbye to her parents with her sleeping bag over her shoulder and clothes stashed in her backpack as she began strolling over to her friend's parents' house. By the time she got there, Isabella Cooper, another of her friends, was already making herself at home. The three girls crafted homemade pizzas, watched some TV, and at around 10 PM, Liv's parents came down to the living room to say goodnight, politely asking them not to make too much noise. "Oh, don't worry, we'll be as quiet as a mouse," Liv said sweetly. "Because we won't even be here," she continued under her breath. Isabella giggled in response, but Ava didn't know why. Liv's parents walked back upstairs to their bedroom. It was as if Liv and Isabella were waiting for the door to click shut before continuing their hushed conversation. "So, do you fancy watching a movie?" Ava asked, unsure of what the night's festivities held. "I've got a better idea," Isabella piped up, as she pulled out a Ouija board from her backpack. "Oh, I don't know about that. I've heard some horrible stuff about using one of those things," Ava said, trying not to sound too scared. "Oh, come on, Ava, there's nothing to it. I literally picked it up at a toy store last week. Look, it's pink and it's got glittery letters. How dangerous can it be?" Isabella rebutted sarcastically. "Yeah, I wouldn't do it tonight." A wry smile crept across Liv's face. "Why not?" Ava asked. "You don't know about Edward Burke, the killer grave digger?" Ava unconsciously leant in closer, both scared and intrigued, as Liv continued. "Legend has it that Edward Burke was the gravedigger for the cemetery just down the road in the 1930s, and he would kill people the night before a funeral and bury the victim beneath the grave. So when the coffin was being buried the next day, no one had any idea there were actually two bodies down there. Some say he even killed his own family in the same way, and every year on November the 13th, he roams around the cemetery, looking for his next victim." "That's tonight!" Ava exclaimed. "They say the last thing you hear before he gets you is the scraping of a shovel along the ground. If you hear that, then it's already too late," Liv cackled. "Oh, we absolutely have to do the Ouija board now," Isabella insisted. "Why don't we do one better?" Liv's voice dropped as she leant in closer. "Why don't we spend the night in the graveyard?" "No," Ava said adamantly. "Come on, Ava, it'll be fun," Isabella pleaded. But before Ava could answer, Isabella had picked up the Ouija board and was already creeping out the house. "Wait for me," Ava whispered as she worriedly scuttled off after them. It wasn't long before the girls had reached the cemetery. They'd walked through the gates and found a patch of grass and soon set up the board. "Come on, hurry up, Ava," Isabella called back to her friend. Ava came over to the others and huddled in close to them, trying to feel more protected. The impromptu seance began, as Isabella had finished lighting the candles and instructed the others to hold hands and close their eyes. Without any warning, she began to speak in a loud, clear voice. "Spirits from beyond, communicate with us. Move among us." The girls waited with bated breath for a few seconds. Silence. Just as the girls were thinking that nothing was going to happen, they heard the sound of something moving in the bushes. "What was that?" Ava asked, opening her eyes and looking around. "Don't open your eyes!" Liv exclaimed, fear in her voice. Ava quickly closed her eyes again. Unaffected by the commotion, Isabella continued with the seance. "What is your name?" she called out into the night. "Come on now, stop it," Ava pleaded with her. "Did you kill your family?" she continued. "Stop it!" Ava started to try and release her hand from Isabella's. "Why did you murder your family?" Isabella was now shouting. "That's enough!" Ava tried to match her voice as she pulled her hand away from the circle. Suddenly there was silence again. This time the quiet was interrupted by the unmistakable sound of a shovel scraping along the ground. The girls panicked. They screamed and got up as quickly as they could, knocking over the candle and ran as quickly as they could into the night. The girls split up. Isabella and Liv headed towards the gate, but Ava soon became disorientated and ran deeper and deeper into the cemetery. She slowed down, frantically looking around, her breath heavy and erratic. She thought she heard something behind her, so, without thinking, she tried to run again. But something was stopping her. She felt a hand on her shoulder. Her foot slipped and she fell, but not straight onto the grass below, but into something much, much deeper. Mud just about softening her fall. Isabella and Liv just about made it home. They slammed the door shut, waking up their parents, who rushed down to see the girls. "What the hell is going on?" Liv's father blasted as he came downstairs, turning on the lights to illuminate the girls. "We heard him. We heard Edward Burke. He was coming to kill us," Liv tried to explain. Ava tried to reach up towards the surface of the grave, just about managing to pull herself out. dirt underneath her fingernails, her hair matted with mud. She could even taste the soil in her mouth. She tried to put a weight on her ankle, but it buckled underneath her. Slowly, she made her way towards the edge of the cemetery, her eyes darting in every direction, alert to Edward Burke. She walked through the gate, hobbled through the streets, getting closer and closer to Liv's house. She made it up the concrete steps and banged on the door. "Guys, please, it's me, let me in." But there was no movement in the house. "Liv? Mrs. Mackenzie? Anyone?" She tried again, but still there was no answer. She hobbled again towards the window in the front room, and her heart fell to the floor. She saw all of them, Liv's parents, and Isabella in the front room. Liv appeared erratic, her mouth moved a mile a minute, and her arms flew about as she talked. She was clearly upset about something, but not as upset as Ava felt, being abandoned in the cemetery, completely alone, whilst her friends ran to safety. Now, frantic, Ava banged on the window again, but again, no one turned round. She stepped back, unable to comprehend what was going on. Her head now spinning, she left the Mackenzies' front porch and continued to make her way back to her parents' house around the corner. She was angry that no one had come to look for her, and felt hurt that they hadn't even let her into the house. By now her ankle had stopped hurting, and she didn't feel the cold anymore. It took weeks to find Ava's body. After the police had looked seemingly everywhere, her friends said she was last seen in the cemetery. They told the police everything, about the seance, about Edward Burke, about the rumours about what he'd done, and sure enough, Ava was found, buried beneath another coffin, fear etched across her face. The police launched an investigation for what was supposed to be a copycat killer, but the girls knew that they'd never be caught. Liv and Isabella were never the same again after that. The girls couldn't forgive themselves for abandoning their friend. And so they say that every year, on November the 13th, Edward Burke would roam around the graveyard, looking for his next victim. And the ghost of a 13-year-old girl wanders the street, trying to find her way back home. That was a grave mistake. And if you like that, make sure you like, subscribe and share this video, because every week I'll be reading another original horror story that'll get under your skin. So stay tuned for the next creepy story, and remember, it's not just dreams that come true, so please, don't have nightmares.